So, hello, Internet.
Well, we did it. They done fucked up and let me buy a podcasting mic.
Why did they let you do that? Out of all things you could have
Now
bought.
everyone will know about my stupid opinions. Because, see, I'm a podcaster now. Joe, I'm a podcaster. We are the most powerful people on the earth. We are more powerful than the U.S. Army. The troops wish they could be as powerful as me. This is why I don't stand for the anthem. Because if they were as powerful as podcasters, then I would stand for the anthem. And our anthem would be something like a Hatsune Miku song. It would be like, please rise for your national anthem. And it would be like,
The alcohol started kicking in.
Yeah,
You're just missing the techno life at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the troops wish they had an anthem that cool. Well, hello, Internet. After that intro, this is Young Osama on the P's and Q's, and we have Joe here on the other P's and Q's. And today we came to talk about anime.
And how it's just horrible at this point.
Well, I don't know if I call it horrible, but
Well, community is just...
Look, I come from a very biased point of view. For one, like, you know, I grew up in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, I'm definitely a 90s kid. You know, I'm older, so I grew up like with that kind of anime. And I know, you know, the demographic changes. The fucking, you know, the fan bases do change. You know, obviously they're not gonna really make anime for like older people. Like, why would they, you know, cater to us older millennials anyway to begin with? It's not, you know, we're older. I guess we don't spend as much money on it. You know, obviously they want to cater to the younger crowd. But what we came to discuss more than anything on this podcast is like what the cultural differences are, like just how the scope of anime culture has changed, because like a lot has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, like a lot has changed from like, you know,
from the 90s,
the content,
fan bases,
especially,
you know,
like there's always
even story wise, like even like some tropes have changed.
You know, there's like, you know, there's always like it's weird, but there's stuff that still stayed the same. Like there's those usual plot points. They're still the same, man. Those plot points, you know what I mean?
And then there's the
you know,
and then there's tropes that like still stay the same.
Right. You still have those like stereotypical, you know, tropes.
Oh yeah, just as a disclaimer, everyone, he's gonna say some dumb shit because alcohol does something. Alcohol does something. Me underage, I'm just
well, for one, I'm drinking.
I can't.
Joe isn't old enough to drink, so she's drinking a Sprite. She's off a sugar high. I'm here off caffeine. That good and alcohol. What am I drinking? I'm drinking a Carl Strauss, a fucking what was it, like a 10-pier IPA? It's a good fucking IPA. All right. Obviously, you know, if you're not a beer drinker, you wouldn't know about that. To which I say, go fucking live a little, you fucking loser.
Meanwhile, Sprites in a glass bottle from Mexico definitely hit different.
Yeah, you know, you got that Mexican Sprite, you know, imported from the drug cartels of Tijuana, of TJ Tijuana. Shout out to El Chapo for importing Mexican Sprite. So let's talk anime, man.
Yes.
Where do you even start? I guess like we'll start off with like, you know, I'm the older guy here.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll start off with the stuff I watched growing up. You know, my experience with anime first started. I think the first anime I really got into. Because I feel like everyone, like, when you're a Latino kid growing up, like, you know, Canal 22, Channel 22, a las 9 de la mañana, you know, they have fucking Dragon Ball Z. I feel like every Mexican kid, if you're like me and your family didn't have cable for, like, the longest fucking time.
You started for the old animes, like Dragon Ball.
Yeah, but I feel like the one that a lot of Mexican kids, especially in SoCal, grew up watching. And if you're like me, like I said, you didn't have cable until, like, later on, like, your teens and stuff like that, when your family finally could afford fucking cable. It was Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z. Con Piccolo, Goku, no Gohan. Gohan no estás entrenando muy bien. Pero Picardo, Piccolo, ¿por qué no? You know, like, those little, like, voices, and then the theme song's like the most unforgettable thing ever. Chara, rescatar, de algo, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you have, like, you know, yeah, so, like, you know, I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z. I feel it's, like, the one that every Latino kid grew up.
Yeah,
you know?
it was like the one that's, like, more accessible.
Yeah, it's a staple. It's a staple in, like, you know, every Mexican kid's, like, anime watching repertoire. And then, of course, you know.
Especially if you look at, like, Hispanic weebs, the first anime, like, they will always say they'll watch is always Dragon Ball
Z.
Like, Even
what I actually noticed too? Mm-hmm. Sorry to cut you off, but one anime I feel like a lot of kids watch growing up, because I know even you did too. Like my parents and like our aunts would put it on for you when you were like younger. Was Heidi?
Oh yeah, Heidi. My cousin and I, we really like that. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly like it's a good anime. It's obviously very child oriented.
The animation is very
cutesy. Yeah, it's very cutesy. Like you have that kind of like older, like kind of early 80s, later
like
70s.
Ghibli, like old Ghibli
studio. Yeah, like old Ghibli stuff. You know, you can compare it to like Lupin the Third, and other shit like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's another one like a lot of like kids grew up watching, especially like because our parents grew up seeing that in like Mexico. You know, they got to see like
minus my padrino who grew up with Saint Seiya, so he
yeah. Well, I mean, because he was more into it. Yeah. You know, like.
But like I feel like that's the Heidi is a really like underrated one that like we never really had realized it. You actually pointed out.
It's one of the ones that a lot of people don't realize. Like, oh, it's actually a fucking anime.
It's actually like an anime, or like it's a story like that was made into an anime, much like Howl's Moving Castle.
Exactly. And this is obviously an older one. This is one that's even introduced by our folks. So I feel like that's probably the most influential one at all, because it was like everyone's first introduction to like Japanese cartoons, anime, and shit.
Animation.
So yeah, that's a good one to bring up. And then I think when I really like, because I feel like you grow up watching Pokemon, like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. All right, like you don't really like think of them too much as like anime. They're just staples cartoons. Of like cartoons that
or like
there.
At the time when we didn't know where anime,
yeah,
we just
when
thought it was
I
cartoons.
first started watching Pokemon, like I don't know, it's Japanese. Like, I don't know, it had anything to do with Japan. I just thought like, oh, Pokemon, so cool.
Pikachu,
like, gotta catch them all, haha. His name is Ash Ketchup. Like it's Ash Ketchum, and like you kind of catch like the Ketchum, like Ketchum, haha. It's a play on words, like that doesn't sound Japanese. Yeah. But like when you're older, like you look back, you see like it has like just like most animes, like a lot of Japanese cultural references and shit. Yeah. So as a Latino kid, like you don't pick up on those things. I think until you start like getting more into anime.
Or like you actually like are more older, more mature enough to actually know about the outside like world, and you're just like, oh,
exactly. So fast forward, I remember when our grandma. We would go over to her house because she actually had cable, and like the family would get together on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
The parents would be out fucking, singing karaoke, doing other shit.
Grilling.
Eating. Yeah, like, but we would go at night. And this was before like you were born, Like we would go at night, and like one of the shows one of the things I would always be on, I'd just be in like, the rooms, and like one of the rooms watching like Adult Swim at night.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like a lot of people also got introduced to a lot of anime.
Like especially like you said, Saturday nights.
Exactly.
Toonami.
I feel like one of the first animes I really fell in love with as a kid was Inuyasha.
Oh, definitely.
And that's one of the ones I think a lot of people can say like that's one of the first ones that like they like that hooked them.
Yeah, it's a classic. Like it's funny. It's definitely a good introduction to like maybe like small action, romance, and comedy. Because
that's all one of I think that's one of the first like real animes that like a lot of kids get introduced to like at a young age was like Inuyasha, especially if you grew up around my time. Mm-hmm. It was definitely Inuyasha, and that's when you started seeing other ones on Adult Swim. Like you saw like Big O, you saw like Trigun, you even saw like Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, which we do not talk about.
No one talks about.
Even at one point they had Evangelion. I remember like I saw Evangelion at a young age. I think I was like 13 when I first. Stop, bless you. Like, I think I was like 13 when like I first saw Evangelion. I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, this shit's amazing. I didn't fucking get it, but I was like, it's so cool,
Just giant robots. Shit, you get a robot.
So like, that's another like place where I really got introduced into anime was like Adult Swim. Watching cable at night. Stuff like that. And then like after a while, I know like the anime kind of started leaving Adult Swim. They started doing more like kind of comedy, like adult cartoons. Like you saw more like Family Guy.
Yeah.
Did Adult Swim ever have Dilbert? I don't think Adult Swim had Dilbert. But you saw more stuff like that. You saw like, Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And like anime went more towards like Toonami. Like. But even then you would still see some like anime on like Adult Swim. Like I know like Cowboy Bebop. That was another one that like I saw at a young age. Classic. So I grew up in that era where like cable introduced you to anime.
Yeah.
And then like when you started getting more into it, you started finding out more about like what anime was, like the kind of shows it is, because like as a kid you're used to seeing like, Looney Tunes, like a lot of shit, like a lot of kind of cutesy like kid oriented cartoons. Bless you again. Yeah. Like kid oriented cartoons, but like then you start watching shit like, Inuyasha, Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop. You know, like shit that's like cool, violent, like a lot of fighting.
Yeah, like
you know,
Gundam,
like
Evangelion,
it's more mature
Hellsing.
and like you're just like, wow, like I didn't know they made cartoons like this. Like what is this stuff? And you know, then you have like when you get older, like I think we finally got like our first like computer access to the internet when I was like in 7th grade, and like that's when like you start researching what this stuff is. You start finding out about more anime, you know. And like one of the things, like I remember we got internet way before we had cable.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I would watch a lot of was anime because it was free. You know, like you can find like I think Kiss Anime was already up by then. There was like millions of other like anime websites where you can watch anime for free. And when you're a kid, also, you don't have cable.
Quick F in the chat for Kiss Anime.
Yeah, quick F in the chat for Kiss Anime. RIP to a real one.
You'll be missed.
Will be missed. Hopefully they open up another domain. Fuck copyright laws. Fuck intellectual property.
It's hard
laws.
to find like old anime now because of it.
Dude, exactly.
I mean, how else are we gonna watch Golden Boy or the old Rocky?
Exactly.
Or how am I gonna watch Gans?
Exactly. You know, stuff like that. Like, and it's really like it's a shame. You know, yeah. It's a shame they got rid of fucking Kiss Anime. RIP to a real one. You know, as much as I hated those weird hentai game advertisements, you know, they made me feel like. You know what? They're necessary.
Yeah.
As weird and cringy as they are, as much as like you would hate for someone to walk in while you're watching a regular ass anime.
Or how we would have it on the TV and like mom would walk in. I can
explain. You know what? Never mind. This is exactly what it looks like. You know, like it is what it is. You know, sometimes you need some cartoon yitties there on the side to really ground you into reality. But whatever.
Yeah. Also, it's a nice touch. Watching it.
Yeah. Shit. I'm sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how, like, I started getting into it. And then, you know, like, you watch a lot of it on the internet because it's free. Yeah. You know, like, I think the other, like, anime that really, like, made me, like, really, like, love anime as, like, a kid, a teen growing up was Elfen Lied.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one that I watched at a young age because it was just really good. You know, it was hyper violent, you know, and, like, that's one of the first, like, really, like, mature animes that I got into. Was Elfen Lied. Elfen Lied? Is it Elfen Lied?
Elfen Lied.
Elfen Lied.
Like German.
Isn't it Lied?
I
don't know. You guys know what the fuck I'm talking about. But
quick question. Yeah. So this was a more mature thing. You said this was like around you were in 7th grade. And also knowing how you introduced it to me now, you kind of told me to go into it with a more open mind because it did express a lot of like philosophical views like loss of innocence. Did you ever see that kind of as like, you know, when you were like a bit younger?
Yeah. I feel like you kind of understand the themes when you're young, but like when you're young, you know, and like you're new to it, like you're like, damn, this is cool. There's people getting their heads ripped off. Like
she's naked. Yeah,
she's naked. Wow, I didn't know they drew cartoon titties. You know, it's like I didn't know they were allowed to do that. You know, like you're a kid, you're like, damn, dude, this shit's cool. But like you do kind of see the philosophical terms, and I think that's the one cool thing about anime is that like a lot of the themes, especially when you watch it as a kid, you start to realize like they're very like mature, sometimes more grounded like themes. They kind of require a little more thinking to them,
or like rewatching in terms of like rewatching. It would be like stuff like Evangelion, Elfen Lied, and Fooly Cooly.
Yeah, and I think
it's like you don't get them at first. You have to watch them a couple times to like actually get them.
And Evangelion is one that I watched young too.
Yeah,
because I think it was at Adult Swim around when I was like 14, like 13, and like I watched it and I was like, what the fuck, like this is crazy, like this is like cool, you know, like, and it made no fucking sense. So, you know, and then I watched, like, End of Evangelion after when they came out, and I was like, this is a mindfuck, you know? Yeah. Like, it's cool, but, like, it's one of those things that, like, you start getting used to those, like, more, like, I guess, I don't know, like, would I call them intellectual themes?
Yeah.
I don't know if you would call them intellectual themes, but that, like, stuff, like, that's not just, like,
action.
Yeah, action, cool, violence and stuff. Like, there's more of, like, a deeper meaning.
There's more deeper
story. Like, it's an allegory for some kind of like, you know, emotion, feeling, some kind of thing that's happening in real life, you know, to try to ground it in a certain way. And I think like Evangelion is definitely one that had that. Elfen Lied to a certain extent had that too.
Fooly Cooly definitely, when I was watching it, did bring up like a bunch of stuff as growing up, because the first Fooly Cooly, it definitely was like that more of a transition from being a child into being a young adult.
It's definitely like a coming of age type thing.
Yeah. And it was really interesting, like, especially watching it, because when I first watched the first Fooly Cooly, I was like, you know, I was in middle school, so it was like definitely like me transitioning to being from like a kid to a teen,
right.
Like, from a tween, or like a kid to a tween to a teen. So definitely like a lot of the themes, like when I first watched an episode in Anime Club, yes, I was that weeb. Like my teacher showed us, like it made no fucking sense at that point. But right. Then when I actually started watching it, a lot of the stuff like did to kind of hit me, or like, oh shit, it's like, oh, this means this, or like this is why he did this, and like it was definitely really interesting. It's one of those like kind of like it's those I really like those animes to just get you thinking, and I kind of see that theme more in the older anime. So how I like to describe kind of our generation gap, I feel like the 90s definitely was a blooming point for anime, because I feel like it came out with what I like to call the more quote-unquote classic animes, because you got a lot of stuff like Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion.
The 90s and like the early 2000s, I think, for anime were definitely kind of like
at its peak.
It was I consider it like in its own way, it was the first like real golden age of anime. Obviously there's more, because even nowadays, like I feel like a lot more people are getting into anime now, just because it's like more accepted. So like right now it's kind of going through like its second bloom. In a weird way.
And I remember you told me like you were kind of upset when like it was starting to get more accepted now, because you remember like kids were, like, you got bullied for it.
Dude, I think the thing that really excuse me, it's the beer. Oh Jesus Christ. Okay. Like the thing that bothered me a lot at first was like I was like back in the day, like I had very little friends that were like super into anime, and then like it was one of those things where I'd be like, hey, do you guys like to be like, no, like where you watching cartoons? I'd be like, fucking anime, it's cool, but whatever. I guess I can't really talk to you guys about it. I'm still gonna watch it, And like it was weird, like it was almost like you kind of got this little sense of shame that you liked anime, like, which is like there's this funny part of like that I've noticed about growing up and liking, especially like in my like I definitely grew up in internet culture, like I was around that time where like the internet culture was kind of starting like to really like develop. Like it was around the time like before social media was big, but it was starting to get big, kind of like 2009, 2010, like when I was in high school, kind of. It's like, when you started seeing like Twitter started to become a thing, like Facebook was starting to become
the early age of internet in a way.
Yeah, the early age of like social media, but it was still like that era of internet culture, which I think has a lot to do with how anime is, like that real era of like internet culture where you kind of started becoming like you were exposed to a lot of things, and the internet was a real different place back in the day than what it is now. It was more like, it was less grounded around social media and more like towards those weird little communities everyone's a part of. And even then, like there was the anime community back in the day that didn't really exist in social media. It existed in like, you had like forums, you had stuff like if you were part of fucking 4chan, unfortunately, that fucking Jesus Christ, that really like that terrible place that was 4chan. It was hilarious, but it was definitely a terrible
I feel like 4chan, despite as terrible as it was and is, it definitely became kind of the starting point of like starting communities for animes on the internet.
Yeah, the forum community, which was like 4chan, was definitely a place where like a lot of stuff started getting grounded. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, it became this big, like, fucking Trump, like, Trump, like, weird right-wing troll races, fucking the R-pole, stuff like that. Like, got overrun by those people. But, like, 4chan was definitely, like a real grounds for, like, where people, like, I mean, you would see, like, a lot of fucked up shit on 4chan, you know, obviously, like, it was very, like, it was definitely a very, like, no-holds-barred, like, place. Like, it was kind of cool.
And also, it was like everyone was anonymous there. You don't make an account. You're just there.
And like it's kind of funny to watch that shit flourish. But like that was a big part of internet culture, was like these ideas that like your communities weren't grounded like on social media. Because I feel like nowadays, like fast forward to like the last like 4 or 5 years or so, like social media, Twitter, and all those, especially Twitter, I think like it really like it got all those communities to congregate to one like website, one social media platform. And I think Twitter is one of the only ones to do that successfully, because it kind of gets this reputation of being like the no holds barred like place. Like I can post like out of pocket shit, I can say out of pocket things on Twitter, and stuff like that. And it's like the internet's always kind of been that way. It's just funny that Twitter kind of developed that reputation.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just back in the day, there was that kind of sense of like anonymity, that sense of like you can be an entirely different person
like
on the internet. You can almost like, if you were someone
you can create a new identity, you can just change your name and everything.
Exactly. It's like if you were someone who was kind of like in a weird way like ashamed of things, in the internet you can kind of express that with those specific communities. Now you're kind of grounded in like social media platforms and Twitter, and then like social media has developed such a like big like thing of like it's no longer creating like a second life. It's like it's more grounded into like you.
Yeah.
Like
you can't create another personality.
Exactly. You're no longer creating another personality. Now what you're doing in Twitter, it's like you're expanding on who you are. Like you're you whether you like it or not, unless you decide to be anon the whole time and like never tie your name to it, never tie anything personal to it. But it's almost impossible to do it now because there's this thing like you're supposed to, because social media now is all about branding yourself. Like you can't separate yourself from your social media self anymore. Like it's too intertwined with your real life.
Yeah.
You know, versus like back in the day where it's like you go to any online community, anything like that, you can be someone on there, like be someone like known in whatever community you are. Let's say you were in like Reddit, you know,
and you were like big in this
4chan,
you were big in
like,
this, but like everyone would know your name on that forum,
everyone
but no one would know
forum, but
no one would know you in real life.
You were someone completely different,
or you were just no one.
Exactly. You know, or you were just no one. Like no one knew you in real life, but people knew who you were in these like forum social media, and like not social media, but these like forum platforms. Yeah. You know, like now what social media has done, like it's different. Like it's somehow like that's not there anymore. You know, now it's really grounded with who you are. So like maybe the positive in it is that like now you're kind of forced to like identify with the things you are. Like you can't have shame in who you are on social media anymore, because like when you're on the internet, everyone like they say things, you know, people are less, they hold back less in the things they say, because I feel like there's still this remnants of like this kind of like remnants that there was this offset of anonymity that used to be a lot in like the more forum ages, like stuff like that, like back in the day. But like that's kind of gone, but I think that sentiment is still there.
Yeah.
So people still want that like anonymity, so they say a lot of things that they wouldn't say in person.
Yeah.
You know? But you're you. Like now you're you. So it's like you can't hide behind a profile. You can't hide behind a second identity. Like now it's you saying it. Versus like back in the day, like it's like you can be your screen name, but no one knows you, but they know your screen name.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's weird. Like, and I think anime, like when you used to look in like the anime communities back then and like the forums and stuff, like they kind of tried to transition to like, you know, Twitter, modern day social media, but you kind of have to be you. So you're not just like you the person, you know, like now you're
not XX this.
Yeah, exactly. You're not XXX someone that no one knows you are in real life. Now you're the person you are in real life who happens to really like anime. Yeah. So you have to be both those things.
And also you have to own up to it too.
Yeah, and like I feel like it starts with like integrating not only in like your internet who you are, but now it's like who you are in real life. And it's like it's an effect of what it is when you tie like internet culture to real culture. Now it's more grounded. Now it's real, because you can't be anonymous anymore on the internet. The days of being anonymous on the internet, they're gone. They're over. Exactly. Unless you want to be a fucking egg avatar on Twitter for the rest of your life. Or like on Tumblr. Exactly. And like Tumblr is not even really a thing anymore. You know, ever since you can't post titties, or ever since you're not allowed to post nudity on there, like Tumblr isn't a thing anymore. Like it's just kind of, it's slowly dying from what I've seen. It's pretty much died at this point. I mean, I have Tumblr, like it's just mostly there for just some artists who like promote. Exactly. Yeah, stuff. I think the one thing that's cool in it, it's like you can see like cool like curated art pages from like, you know, famous like artists, like painters, photographers back in the day, aesthetic like, pages. Exactly. Unless you don't go to the weird side of Tumblr. Exactly. Yeah. You know, like I think there's still like nudity and shit. You just have to look for it. You have to look. Yeah, you really have to look for it. But I think a lot of those pages are gone. But it's like, the Tumblr porn era was kind of funny, because it's like Tumblr was where like I can express myself sexually, and it's like, okay. now you just can't. That was just aesthetic like, pages. Now everyone on Twitter is horny. It's like, Jesus Christ, you know. Like, oh God. But it's funny because now it's like it's you. Like, now it's like everyone knows. You can still be horny on the internet. It's just everyone's gonna know it's you. Yeah. You know? But you know, going back to the topic at hand, like I think the anime community when it comes to the internet was definitely like an interesting thing, you know. And I think like internet culture and anime, like they went hand in hand. Yeah. They really played like a role together. So I grew up in that era where it was like you used to go to internet culture, and that's how anime thing. And like the thing I think that was funny with that is like it was very brutal. You know, like you had like those anime purists, you know, that like felt like they knew everything about anime. The gatekeepers. Exactly, the gatekeepers. And that's like, obviously those people are still alive today, especially because now it's like there's kind of like the thing of fame, how it goes back to tying into like now your real persons of who you are is like tied to your social media identity. So like you want to be known as that expert in anime. I guess that's a thing now, you know. So like, so that gatekeeping is still there. I think that's one of the things in anime culture that never left, was that
I feel like that type of culture never leaves like any type of like say nerdy. It never does. Like you have gatekeepers for movies, comics, anime.
That's a very good point.
Even for politics, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, let me tell you about it, man. Like I'm very in that political circle. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have gatekeepers for everything. Unfortunately, it makes it hard to like even like a community, because that's, if you're gonna, I feel like a lot of stuff that gives anime a bad rep are the gatekeepers, are the ones that kind of just ruin it.
And you know, I think that has to do a lot with how internet culture is. Yeah. It's very self-absorbed, very cynical. And it's very like, especially when it comes to a topic that like you're interested in or almost obsessed about.
Or like passionate about.
Yeah, very passionate. Yeah, exactly. Like very passionate about, like people can become very kind of like cynical, very narcissistic about like their knowledge. Self-centered. They feel like they're self-centered. They feel like they're the end all be all. Like they're the most knowledgeable.
They're the encyclopedia.
Exactly. And that's just that's a side effect of internet culture. You know, you have people like that, and that's definitely something that developed in the anime community, because I feel like the anime community back in the day was like, you have a lot of people back in the day who were like, anime wasn't very accepted.
And it was very small at the time.
Yeah, so like millennials, I think it's a lot of people my age. Like a lot of millennials, you know, like I see older millennials. Well, not older. I'm definitely like the middle millennials, because I was kind of born like in the mid 90s, not exactly early 90s. Yeah. You know? So you have a lot of like those millennials that like, when they were in high school and shit, like you had like anime people, but those anime people were like kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, you got the weird kids.
Exactly. Like I was someone who would just kind of watch anime by themselves, couldn't really talk to anyone about it, and I didn't want to be one of those kids wearing a Naruto thing all day. I was like, kids kind of
be associated with them, or else again, reputation's a big thing.
They wouldn't even really talk to me to begin with, but I did have like a couple friends I can talk about with anime, but they weren't like hardcore obsessed with it. Yeah. You know, so it's definitely like it's definitely a big part of this thing that like it wasn't really accepted back in the day. Fast forward to how it is today, like a lot of kids are like, oh, I love anime this and that, you know, like anime this, anime that. And it's like back in the day, it's like people would kind of look at you weird if you talk that way, you know. It's kind of like,
or you're like, I like anime, or like, or anything that wasn't, or anything that like kind of wasn't Dragon Ball, that like was anime.
Exactly, yeah. Like I see like what you see a lot of nowadays, a lot of older people, I think my age, just starting to get into anime, and it's kind of funny because it's like, they kind of try to like get into the newer stuff, and they try to associate with like,
the older stuff.
Yeah, with the kind of like, I'm older, you know, like anime culture, but it's like they watch a lot of the newer stuff, and they kind of try to integrate themselves into the young crowd. Yeah, it's a little weird.
It is.
And the younger people kind of look at them like, why do you care so much about like Fire Force? You know? It's like, yeah.
Or why are you caring way too much about My Hero Academia?
Exactly. Yeah, like it's a decent show, but it's like, good, but okay, like kind of, you know.
Like, okay.
Yeah, it's like a little too obsessive about that. Like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to see like someone in like their mid-20s try to start like a anime meme account. You know, it's like you're a little too old for that shit.
Are you sure?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're a little pandering. It's kind of weird. It's like, what's your intentions with these kids? You know?
Yeah. Like really.
Exactly. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, yeah, and I think that's kind of where like it is now for someone like me, from an like, I wouldn't exactly say the older crowd, but definitely someone who's like, you know, in their mid-20s, like
from the, I'd say earlier generation.
Yeah, from one of the earlier generation who grew up around that era. Yeah. Of like anime, internet culture, because you know they have a lot to do with each other, and how it sees how it is now, how it's more accepted, you know, and it's more grounded in like different cultures. Like now you see a lot of rappers who like grew up around my time, you know, rap like, about shit like anime,
or like, you know, who use anime in their cover, like that one rapper, the one. The album, the Whole Lotta Red album.
Playboy Cardi. Yeah, Playboy Cardi. Yeah. That like, you know, one of my favorite rappers. Like Playboy Cardi, like for like that T-shirt. Rap. It's not. I mean, the album came out. It's probably never coming out. But like, you know, for that shirt that they did for that like collab with AWG, like the way they did that collab with like the anime girls, stuff like that. I mean, you had a lot of rappers nowadays like who rap about anime. Like you had like a lot of like Xavier Wolf, you know, like a lot of the Seshala Water Boys, like all of them. Yeah, like, and even like about, like anime and stuff like that. I
personally don't listen to a lot of rap, but I've heard some people like or some rappers mention like in their lyrics like stuff like Dragon Ball, Goku, Naruto, stuff like that.
Exactly. You have people like like a lot of Seshala Water Boy guys. I think I already said them. You have a lot of people like a lot of the people from Awful too. Like there's some anime references there with like Father with stuff like.
And then even like artists now, like I know The Weeknd, they dropped like an animated music video, and the style is like the company who did it is a anime company, but they're all like they're African American owned.
Exactly, and that's pretty cool, you know, like, and it's cool to see like people from like other cultures like really get into anime too. So see like, and it's kind of weird to see them all kind of come together and actually make an effort to kind of come together. I think that's really cool. You know, so you start seeing like how diverse the anime community is stuff.
It shows a long way where you've come from, like it being kind of not very socially accepted to it just kind of being normal now.
Exactly, because it's more integrated in like popular culture, and I think music was a big thing into bringing that all together.
Yeah, and I think even some movies. Cause remember when we watched Alita: Battle Angel, the actor who played the Doctor, he was very into it. He was very into it. Like
the guy from Inglourious Bastards, right? Yeah, which is kind of cool because like to hear like that guy like that, and I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool. You know?
Especially since he was a big fan of Alita. Christopher Waltz.
Yeah, Christopher Waltz, dude, and it's crazy because like still to this day I'm like, okay, that anime, like I'm not saying it wasn't famous, but it wasn't like it's popular.
It was a cult classic, but it's like cult classics. Like, they aren't necessarily popular. They're just known.
I remember when like they came out with the trailer for the movie, I was kind of like, my first reaction was like, how did they find out about this show? Like, this wasn't exactly like one of the big shows, you know, like. But I was like, okay, like, so you definitely have people who were like into that kind of stuff,
and especially like Christopher Waltz from what you told me, he was the one who went to the director, like kind of suggested this kind of stuff.
Was he?
I think so. Yeah, and so it's good to have like either, since he's like definitely like older than you or me. Yeah, like it's good. I feel like it's really good to like have like that kind of generation kind of like help influence us, because it definitely it helped normalize it from it being like the weird kid in the back to kind of like, oh, everyone kind of talks about it. Even the quote unquote popular crowd would like say they're not really that into anime, but they're into like some of the shows.
Right. No, and that's exactly right. You know, so like it's kind of cool to see like the way I feel like pop culture, like it got more accepted with anime because there's a lot of exposure. And you know what? Without tooting my own horn over here, I feel like a lot of older millennials are like the reason why like a lot of the younger generation even got into anime. Like
you and our cousin, you guys are the ones that got me into anime. You were the one who introduced me to Dragon Ball Z.
Exactly. I feel like one of the big reasons I got into anime to begin with is because one of our cousins, like when I used to go to his place growing up, like he had a lot of anime stuff. Like he had a lot of mangas. He had a lot of like anime DVDs. Figures. Like he was very into it, and I was like, "What's this stuff? It's kind of cool, you know." And I was like, "You're a little kid, you know, like that's pretty cool stuff." Like, I think like that's how I found out about one of the first animes I was like really mature, and I thought it was the coolest shit I ever seen as a kid was Gantz.
Oh yeah,
because it was just so bloody, like so mature, and like I remember as a kid, like to me that was like, damn, they make shit like this, like fuck, like it's like so cool.
Comparing like anime, like the Japanese anime, comparing to like American cartoons, dude, it's definitely like a big like they can do this and get away with it, while we can't,
because it wasn't just for kids,
it was for adults too. Well, here cartoons are associated just for kids.
You see something that's like, you know, like that. It's like, they make this? Like,
I shouldn't be watching this. I feel like a kind of an example, you know? Like when America tried to do that was Happy Tree Friends, and we saw how quickly that got shut down. Like it was very bloody, but like, and it was a lot of kids were very confused when they first watched it.
Exactly, and it wasn't like stuff that was purely made for shock value either. You know, and I think that's the one thing that was cool about anime. Like it wasn't something that was purely shock value. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff in there for shock value, especially if you ever watch Gantz. Like, you know, there's a shit ton of stuff in there for shock value. But you know, there's more. You know, I guess themes to it. There's more psychological themes to it.
There's more story.
There's more story. Like there's a meaning behind it, and I thought that was like really cool.
Rather than just kind of senseless violence.
Exactly. I mean, there's definitely a lot of senseless violence in Gantz, but you know, there's more to it, and I think
there's a story behind that senseless violence.
Exactly, and I think that's what was really cool about it. So now that I said my piece, I want to know how you started getting into anime, Joe. So let's get Joe's story on you.
Okay, so how I got into anime is obviously I got in. I'm obviously part of the young generation. Definitely a Gen Z. So how I got introduced, I was kind of introduced to like very kind of oldish anime. Young Osama was definitely a big influence on me, because I definitely started off like as any like kid would, watching Pokemon like on Cartoon Network. But then Young Osama, he introduced me to Channel 7 Saturday mornings at like 11 a.m. They showed Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z Kai was the first anime I've ever watched. I personally, because of how normalized Pokemon was, I wouldn't really consider that much of an anime, only because it was kind of just normalized for my generation as just a cartoon. But anime wise, it was Dragon Ball Z Kai, and from there, like I didn't know about Toonami yet.
Right.
I just kind of just stuck with like, okay, Saturday mornings, I'm waking up and watching Dragon Ball. Like, it's so interesting. Like, there's fights. Like, why are they screaming for like 5 minutes straight? And from there, I discovered that, hey, Sonic had an anime, Sonic X, and
yes,
started watching that too. And then later, I realized, on Saturday nights, instead of Adult Swim, because like sometimes I'd stay up watching one episode of King of the Hill and like fall asleep because obviously I had school the next day.
God dang it, bro! I'm gonna kick her off.
That's my purse.
But I tell you what, man, just more anime at night, man. You got to do nothing, man. We'll go during computer or something. You got to do deep run, man. Go ski, go ski, man. Go sleep like a baby, man.
Yeah, so obviously like, I couldn't stay up that late, like on weekdays.
That's my Boomhammer, bro.
So, and then Young Osama here told me that
Give us one second.
Give us a second.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry about that little pause, but where was I? Oh yeah, how I got introduced to Toonami. So like obviously I couldn't stay up like during school nights. Yeah, I was a responsible kid. I had to go to sleep around 10.
What a loser.
Yeah. But then I realized, like, Saturdays I can stay up late. I mean, other than having to go to church on Sundays.
That was the coolest shit ever when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Like, you felt so cool staying up late. Like, especially because, like, my, folks always went to sleep early.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, boy, I could watch Toonami. I was like,
like, obviously, so like,
cool.
some nights when Young Osama was up, I was like, oh, I'm just going to watch cartoons. And then I was like, okay, we'll just watch Adult Swim. So I'm like, King of the Hill, or I'll go Team Hunger Force.
Right.
And it's like, oh, wait, what's this? Oh, it's Toonami. Wait, they have Dragon Ball. I know this. But from there, I got introduced to like stuff like Evangelion. I think I remember. I'm trying to remember what animes that were like there when I was like growing up.
Which was there when you were growing up? That's when like, I mean, Inuyasha was there for like the longest fucking time. I think that's when like Toonami started becoming big. Because at one point, they had One Piece. Yeah. They had like fucking Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill.
I definitely remember seeing a Kagame Kill and Kill la Kill.
Akame
ga Kill?
Yeah, Akame ga Kill. And like shit like that, dude. Like you definitely grew up around that era of like fucking anime.
Yeah, so that was like my first introduction to like anime. I was like, oh shit. And like I remember I'd always go to you for questions, and then I didn't really at that point we weren't really talking a lot to our cousin, but like when we actually did, was it you or him that brought it up, like the anime around me?
I think it was me.
Yeah, I
think I'm the one that like definitely brought up like anime at first. And,
yeah,
like,
because you definitely were a big influence on me. But like, how did we bring it up to our cousin? Because then like I remember he started giving me recommendations, and even then he gave us swords. Yeah,
exactly. Like I think that's when we just brought it up that like he saw that we both liked it, and like that's when he started talking about it too, because he definitely knew a lot more
than we did about
anime at the time. And like it's kind of funny because I think one of the things I really failed to mention, which is a big deal, one of the things that really got me into anime was when I was in elementary school. I started reading the Shonen Jump mangas.
Oh yeah.
The Shonen Jump mangas were probably one of the biggest influences when it came to anime.
Wait.
That's where fuck, dude, these Trulies and beers are getting to me.
Yeah, because I remember you had the thick ones.
Dude, we had so many fucking copies of Shonen Jump. I remember when like we would get the book orders.
Yeah.
I would always order them because my parents were like, "Why do you want to subscribe to the mail?" And I was like, "You don't fucking get it, Mom. I want to fucking read my manga, Mom. I want to know what happens to Monkey D. Luffy in the next fucking. Just buy me the fucking Shonen Jump."
Does Naruto find Sasuke?
Exactly. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen to Naruto. I don't know what's gonna happen to Zabuza. He's supposed to fight Kakashi. He's gonna take off his blindfold. Like shit like that. Like my little fucking Nonyo ass just fucking being like, just buy me the next one. Like just subscribe. I don't have to buy out the book order. It's like 2 months later. I'm not even gonna have it.
Yeah.
Shit like
You're
that.
Not gonna have this issue.
It's funny because like they never wanted to mail in the shit to subscribe.
Yeah.
So like me and my sister would always have to wait until the next book order, and that would be like
next book fair.
3 issues that we'd miss, and like we wouldn't know what the fuck would happen. We'd be all mad, and it's like, damn it, like we don't know what can happen with Zabuza and Kakashi, and like shit like
that. Does Kakashi ever take off his mask?
Exactly. Does Kakashi? And we luckily got to see the one where he shows his eye. What was it called? The fucking eye. His
It's like it's a copy type of.
Well, his eye. He shows.
He has a Sharingan.
The Sharingan eye, yeah. And like that's how like Shonen Jump was definitely a big reason how we fucking got into anime.
Because I remember I used to like when you guys had mangas. I used to like read some of them.
My sister had like a lot of the copies of Naruto.
I remember you guys had the Kingdom Hearts one.
The Kingdom Hearts one at one point she had. I used to just read a lot of the Shonen Jumps.
Yeah, I remember
because a lot of the mangas I wanted to read were actually not in Shonen Jump.
Yeah,
and I was like, damn, dude, like
you're like a different company.
And I remember when we'd always go to like Barnes and Noble or some shit like that. That's where I would read a lot of the mangas. Is like we'd go to like Barnes and Noble, which is one of the reasons I'm sad they're all gone. You know?
No, they're still there.
Barnes and Noble. Well, there's like one, but
no, there's
what was the other bookstore? The one that closed. I can't even. I'm drawing a blank. Borders. There you go. Borders. Borders was like they had a lot of good like mangas. So I remember when we would go like to Borders, I would love it because like I would read all the fucking mangas there. We'd spend like a couple hours there, and I would just be reading mangas with like my cousins and shit.
I noticed one thing because I have some Shonen Jump, but I have only one of the old ones. But the new ones, they're definitely thinner.
I'm so mad that I have no idea what happened to my old issues.
Dude, that threw him away.
He probably did, but we had so many older issues, dude.
I know. I only have one.
You know what's one of the mangas that we own? The Yu-Gi-Oh ones.
Yeah.
The original Yu-Gi-Oh before they had Duel Monsters, Volume 1, when it was like Yu-Gi playing games, you know, before Kaiba came in and all them, like it was just like them, and like before they playing Duel Monsters, you just had like the games, you know, and it was cool, like because I was like I didn't know there was a Yu-Gi-Oh before Duel Monsters, you know, and I was like, damn, that's pretty fucking cool.
Before Joey's scary chin.
Exactly, Joey's scary fucking chin, and I think that's like one of the ones that definitely like another anime that I was really into for a while was Yu-Gi-Oh. Because it was like, I didn't know there was something to it before Duel Monsters. I was like, damn, this is really cool. I never got super into the card game because I was kind of bad at it. You know, but I was.
You got into Magic.
Exactly. Well, I was actually good at it. I won a tournament once.
Yeah.
Against older people when I was like fucking 12 years old, dude.
Okay, because I heard Magic is significantly harder than Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon.
It's a lot harder.
But I'm surprised how you sucked at
Magic in like 2009. Like back when it was like Magic was starting and like no one really played Magic, and it was like very grounded. Like the mana cards were like the very early ones. Like it was a very early stage Magic that was like hard to play. It's always been a harder card game to play, and I was honestly like I was surprised that I got it at such a young age, and I stopped playing it around like freshman year in high school because I was like, whatever, you know. And like I feel like junior year in high school, like I saw a lot of people getting into Magic and like a lot of nerdy shit.
Yeah,
and I was kind of like,
damn,
I remember
you missed out.
I got into Magic. Like, you guys are just finding out about this, or like, what do you know about Magic? I'm like,
I won one tournament.
You fucking peons, like you wouldn't know.
I won one tournament.
I am known in this realm, like you fucking peasants, you know. Like and like everyone found out about Magic, like, without sounding like some kind of fucking pretentious hipster. Like people found out about Magic late.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember playing it like when it was like not a lot of people played it, and I was like, damn, dude, this shit's pretty cool. You know, I remember when like the family used to own like the like a restaurant. You know, there was like a game store across the street, but not across. It wasn't the same fucking plaza. It was right across. Like it was maybe 30 feet away. Like I would go up to the game store and like they would play like Magic. That's where I learned about shit like Warhammer. You know, that's where I learned about shit like Dungeons and Dragons and like.
You never played.
I remember they had HeroClix, which was like a superhero based kind of like tabletop game, which was like really cool. That's where I learned about a lot of nerdy shit, and I was like, damn, dude, that's pretty cool. So, like, it's weird. I had a weird introduction when it comes to this shit. Like, I really had a weird introduction. Yeah. But it was cool because, like, you know, being a, like, you know, a kid, like, you're not exactly rich, kind of, you know, parents struggling, you know, didn't have a lot of money to buy a lot of this shit. So but you had the internet. You had the internet. And also, back with the restaurant, like, even if you couldn't afford some of the cards, you were just there to watch. You were just there to watch. Sometimes they'd let you play. Like, they'd let you borrow a deck, you know, shit like that. Like, eventually, I bought my own deck, and I built my own deck. Yeah, and then you have, like, actual, like, nice people there who were like, oh, like, let me just show you the ropes. There was definitely a lot of, like... That's when I found out what neckbeards were. There was plenty of those. Just weird older guys that were, like, way too into this shit. And, like, would have, like, nerd rage breakdowns. And it was kind of funny. And I was like... Damn, I hope I don't grow up to be these people. And thank goodness you didn't. Okay, you have a slight neck beard. Thank goodness I didn't. I don't have a neck beard. Like, I just didn't shave. Like, I just didn't shave. I'll edit that out. I just didn't shave. Okay, but like, yeah. But you know, you're definitely not a neck beard. Like, you're definitely not that kind of person. Despite you knowing a lot of this shit, you definitely were kind of like, you're just easygoing. Exactly. You're kind of just like, okay, if you like this, okay. I'm nothing like this. I know. I don't play Warhammer. I'm just making fun of your appearance. Okay, you fucking asshole. But yeah, dude. Can I not? But yeah, dude, like it's weird. Like, so going back to the topic at hand. Yeah. Like that's the way you got into anime, I think had a lot to do with like the stuff you saw growing up with like
and also,
me and like our sisters.
Yeah, like me
that.
being the younger, like you guys had to experience this kind of stuff firsthand. Like you and our sister, you guys were only a year apart, but you guys were technically, you guys have experienced a lot of this firsthand. You guys,
we did.
With me kind of just being like 10, 11 years younger than you all. Like you guys helped me ease my way into it and kind of like maybe help me slowly open my eyes to it and maybe not kind of just like throwing me into it.
Right.
Because
right,
I feel like with a lot of like millennial anime fans, they were kind of just thrown into it. That's why they know more stuff, or kind of when they take in the new generation, they will kind of be like, oh, don't go here, or like you're just like, oh, watch this. If you're into this, watch this. Don't watch this. Like this is not good. So I feel like with the older
generation, I just
kind
let
of
you watch whatever the fuck you want. I was like, I don't care. You just fucking watch it. That's how I got introduced. I got thrown into the fucking fire. I was like, I'm gonna watch everything.
No, there's some stuff that you wouldn't let me watch though.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's stuff I would say like, don't fucking watch this. Like, this is not for kids.
Or like just don't watch it ever. It's that bad.
Yeah.
Even though I'm probably still gonna watch some of it. Not all
which
of it.
Brings us to our next talking point. I think in the last maybe like 4 or 5 years, like the new kind of golden age of anime, because they've been putting out a lot of shit recently. Like a lot of these studios have been putting out a lot of shows.
Yeah,
a lot of shows.
And some of them keep on just producing the same show.
Yeah,
I'm looking at you, like, One Piece.
Yeah, exactly. And the fucking
and Dragon
how many
Ball.
episodes do they fucking?
Actually, no. Let me look it up.
Because like it's too many.
From last one, I heard
some One Piece fucking super fans gonna be like, "How dare you talk about?"
I remember at like Crunchyroll they had.
Fuck, this is my podcast. If I want to talk shit on One Piece, I'm gonna talk shit on One Piece.
No, I remember. I think it was on Crunchyroll. I saw they had over 1,000 episodes. Oh, there's like, okay, list of episodes currently from what I see on the wiki. It's 939, so they're close to 1,000.
Fucking Christ,
they've been running from 1999.
How do they, like, damn, dude, like, jeez.
Actually, no, wait, let me look on Crunchyroll. I have my Crunchyroll open right now.
Yeah. Damn, dude, like, I don't know how you even have that much, like, fucking mental capacity to be able to be like, let's make
kudos to the creator if they're continue like with that.
Yeah, dude, like, you're right, man. I 100% agree.
Like, honestly, like, okay, we were talking about this earlier, but we don't know if it's just a production company kind of just, like, breathing down his neck, like, create more stuff, or like from what I've heard from friends, it's just actually him producing ideas. But yeah, right now on Crunchyroll it's 939 episodes currently, so they're reaching close to 1,000.
No, I agree with you, and it's just like, it's just one of those things that, like, I think at some point when a show becomes successful enough, you're gonna have the production company be like, we need more episodes,
we need more episodes to
we need the new season out by tomorrow. And it's like, but I just finished the last season. They're like, we need a new season out by tomorrow. Just grab him by the fucking neck, just like, we need a new season. He's like, okay,
Thanos choking.
Yeah, the Thanos, he's gonna Darth Vader choke him. He's gonna be like,
nice. Or just Thanos snap.
Exactly.
I don't remember how Thanos snapped in Loki's neck.
Exactly. So I think this is a good time to bring up our second topic that I think we should talk about. The current state of anime. Me being an older watcher, that, like, I feel like I took a break for a while from really watching anime and, like, not really watching it too much. And it's weird because I think, like, back in college, like, I think it was around, like, my sophomore year. Was it my sophomore year? Yeah, it was like my sophomore kind of junior year, like, in college, where, like, I kind of started getting into it again because I was like, damn, dude, I kind of need something to take my mind off.
I think also what kind of helped it was when you were taking that one, like, video game history class.
Yeah, but that was later on. That's well into, like, when I started watching anime again. I think before is, like, when I kind of just reintroduced myself, because I was like, I wonder what the anime has been, like, community has been up to.
What happened when I was gone?
Exactly. So one of the first things I did is, like, I went and watched a lot of the animes that, like, I didn't watch, that I kind of wanted to watch, like Monster, Text No Lies. I rewatched Gantz again. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. I rewatched Elfen Lied.
Evangelion. I remember watching that with you.
And then one of the animes that I will defend, regardless of how fucking cringy it is and how weird it is at times, is Chobits. Look, listeners, you understand something. This is a pro Chobits podcast. If you shit talk Chobits, I will find you, go to your house, and kill your firstborn. Okay.
Also, just
we do not slander
lewd,
Chobits.
don't slander or lewd Chobits.
Exactly. Well, it's people are gonna lewd Chobits for whatever fucking reason, but we do not shit talk Chobits. You do not shit talk such a pure,
please don't,
happy, joyful anime.
Please
Chew
don't.
has done nothing to you. You leave Chew alone, you piece of shit. You fucking leave her alone. Okay.
Please don't.
Shit talk the main guy, whatever the fuck his name is. You can drag his name. If you can take his face, throw it under a car tire, and just ran that shit. Fucking just run him over. You can cut his stomach open alive. All right, and you could kill him. Rip his guts out and just watch him die slowly. But if you shit talk Chobits,
what's his name? Hideki.
I will. Yes, you can kill Hideki. You can shoot his leg off one by one and just watch him bleed to death. But if you shit talk Chew, for whatever reason,
Chi or Cho?
Is it Chi or
I think it's Chi.
Fuck, dude, I'm fucking up. It's Chi. If you shit talk Chi, for whatever reason, I will go to your home. I will find your dog. I will pet him. Put him out on the street. Pet him out on the street while he's out there licking my hand all nice and tender like. And I will punt him like a football off the side of the freeway after he licks my hand and I feed him a treat. So he has that look of betrayal in his eyes as he falls into the river and drowns. And he's like, why would you do this to me? We were supposed to be friends. And I'm like, you knew what this was. This isn't personal. It's just business. And as he slowly paddles in the river.
Just slowly like. Remember, it wasn't the dog's fault. It was. I'm not defending his actions. It's just.
Look, the moral of the story. The dog's fault. Joe, the moral of the story is don't shit talk Chi or Chobits. Okay,
you can shit talk Hideki.
Not slander such a beautiful show.
You can shit talk Hideki, just not Chi or Chobits.
Exactly.
Just a fair warning. Don't underestimate him or don't take his warning into...
I will kick your dog. I will kick your fucking dog.
He'll also steal your hummus, so hide that too.
I will steal your hummus after I kick your dog. Now, like I was saying, I think that's when I kind of went back and I watched a lot of shows. And because you got school and shit, you're working 2 fucking jobs to pay for school, and you need something to just fucking kick back because you're not going out as often. You're just like, damn, I need something to relax. I need something to fucking show. So you just watch anime. You're just like, what am I gonna do? I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm all fucking tired and shit from fucking school. I'm watch anime. Just I'm gonna watch TV. And I think that's when I started reintroducing them to a lot of stuff. And I think that's kind of when you started really getting into it more.
Yeah. Was when
I kind of would watch stuff and you'd be like, oh, what's that? I'd be like, go away. Don't look at me. I'm watching anime. All ashamed, but you'd be like, oh, excited. All right.
Oh, that's cool. You forgot that you were the one who introduced me to it, but I wasn't like, ew, what is it?
It'd be like a vampire in the sun, I'm watching anime.
That was you.
Yeah, but I'd be like, whatever, dude. If you want to watch it, go ahead. So I think that's when I started watching a lot of stuff, and I watched a lot of. At first, what I did is I watched a lot of old stuff. Yeah. I remember I'd watch Full Metal Panic, Trigun, Black Lagoon, Cowboy Bebop, Chobits, of course, shit like that, older shows that I would watch back in the day. And then I kind of started watching the newer stuff to kind of see what it's all about. I think one of the first newer stuff that I really, really liked was Parasite, because it's just a really well made show. Yeah. Parasite is a really, really well.
Yeah, because remember we saw it come on Toonami. Yeah. And that was just one show we really got into. The intro was amazing, artist, music wise, visual wise, and also story wise, pretty good. I think there's a couple times when I nearly cried for the characters.
No, yeah, dude, it's definitely it's a good show, and I think Attack on Titan is another one that I really liked the first season. I didn't really continue watching it after the second season, just because the wait for it. It's one of those things with me that it's I have a hard time doing long animes. Yeah. Animes with a lot of seasons, kind of franchise animes, because it's too much commitment. Oh, yeah. I got commitment
honestly,
issues, I guess.
Same. I prefer short series of animes. Dororo was amazing.
Oh, Dororo is an amazing fucking show.
It's 26 episodes.
Yes, if you want to talk about current animes that are fucking just incredible,
Dororo, it's a remake of in the 80s anime, so definitely.
No, it was before. Dude, that shit was in the 60s.
Because it was black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
So the remake, so they definitely kept a lot of stuff from the original source material. Yes. But the remake was amazing story-wise because it delved into the characters more. The animation was amazing.
It's
intro was amazing.
An incredible show. It has like a lot of like historical, cultural like references to it. It was definitely
accurate.
Yep. Look, listeners, for like the 20 people who would probably listen to this, if one of you is an older like anime watcher who wants to lie to everyone that you were into anime at a young age, you know, to try to seem cool, like if there's a newer anime that you want to watch because you're like, I don't watch new animes because they're not as good as the old stuff, knowing damn well you never watched that shit when you were young, you fucking asshole.
Watch some of the remakes.
Watch no. It's because it is such a well-made show, especially if you're like kind of like me and you're not a huge fan of like a lot of the fan servicey stuff.
There's no fan service in there at all.
Exactly, yeah. It's more like it's just a straight up good fucking show.
It's very story and character driven.
Very story oriented.
It's very short. It's 26 episodes. The intro was amazing.
Yeah. Like the one episode that's kind of like a filler episode
was the marriage one.
Yeah, the one where like the Joker demon that fucking tricks everyone into saying the opposite.
Or what they don't mean.
Yeah, exactly, what they don't mean.
But even then, that one was kind of interesting.
That one, even though it was a filler, it was still really good.
Because it showed the dynamic between, or like the relationship, that kind of how they deal with stuff.
Even though it has nothing to do with like, well, it almost has nothing to do with the original. It does, because like he gets his swords remade and shit.
Yeah.
But like, even though it doesn't have a lot to do with the original plot point, it's still really good.
Yeah.
Like, it's still like a really fucking good episode.
Like, I feel like with fillers, if you're gonna do them, like at least do them like that.
Yeah, just don't fucking pull a Naruto.
Don't pull Naruto or Bleach.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I just remembered? Another show that really made me like fall in love with anime. Samurai Champloo.
Oh,
when they originally had it on Adult Swim, like I thought that will always be probably, if not my favorite, because for a long time it was like my favorite show ever made. Oh, yeah. And I think it still is. But if ever it doesn't become, I promise you, it will never leave like my top 3. Like that will always be one that's in my top 3 because that's one
I wish would get more publicity. Honestly, it was a great anime story wise.
It got a lot of publicity. It's definitely very well known because you had like new jobbers, so you had a lot of people in like the music scene that really like that show. It has like that hip hop vibe to it, which is like
historically
really cool.
accurate with the
very
judo,
historically accurate.
Judo kind of
exactly, and it's such a good made show, like, dude.
Aesthetically wise, it's amazing.
That's what
I'm currently rewatching it. Aesthetically wise, it's amazing. Currently, some friends and I, because we really love the show, we're making a windbreakers based out of them because. Honest, I love anime, so there's some merch that I'll get. Like if it looks cool, I got Young Osama and I both Cowboy Bebop hats, so definitely check out. I don't know I don't think we're gonna get sponsored, but definitely check out. What's it? Good. I'll look into the name. I forgot already.
We'll plug things after.
Yeah, we'll plug things after. Yeah. Where we got the hats. Easy, but like, there's a lot of Cowboy Bebop merch, but there's no Samurai Champloo
Honestly,
merch.
that show.
That's why my friends and I are kind of taking it into our own hands.
Yeah.
We're making our own windbreakers. Maybe I'll let Young Osama know when we're dropping them.
And I think one of the things that really made me like fall in love with the show was the new Jabba's produced intro.
Oh,
which is so fucking good. It's so fucking good. Like, it's such a good song. Like, okay, here's one thing about me. Like, I was never like super weeby about the anime thing, so like I don't really care
for openings
for anime intros, you know. Like I'm kind of like whatever. Like I usually end up skipping them because I want to see the show, you know.
You don't skip Evangelion. You don't skip Evangelion.
You know. But one of the ones that I could never skip the intro was Samurai Champloo because the song is so fucking.
It's not like those like stereotypical anime intros where everything's in Japanese. No, this is in English, and it definitely brought in like rap and trap vibes.
Yeah, like I love I've always grew up listening to a lot of rap music. Like I love rap music, you know, and like to see something produced by new Jabba's and like have such a good song and like such a good like the visuals are really good. Like everything about that fucking intro is so good.
Oh yeah,
so good. And like it's one of the ones that like. You know how sometimes, like, some TV, like, especially in, like, cable, like, they would sometimes kind of, like, shorten the intro or skip it?
Yeah.
This is one of the few ones where I'm like, no, keep the full fucking intro.
Yeah.
Don't shorten it. Don't skip it. None of that. Like, for example, when it was on Netflix, I would hate when they would skip it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, no, dude, I want to watch the
intro.
Or
sometimes when it would autoplay, it would skip the intro. Like, no, we would go back.
I can't name any other show that I was like, no. We're watching the intro. Like, I love the intro.
Visually.
Like, it sets the mood for every fucking episode. Visually, musically, everything about the intro is beautiful of Samurai Champloo.
Oh yeah, it's also, I feel like fashion. If you're an aspiring fashion designer and you're looking for that kind of modern hip hop ish, or maybe like Japanese aesthetic wise clothing, definitely look at Samurai Champloo for aesthetic wise.
Exactly.
I've gotten a lot of inspiration to make a bunch of jackets made from that. And also, just for a quick plug in where we got the Cowboy Bebop hats, look up Dumb Good. Definitely a good company. Good.
I think they're pretty like famous, but definitely a good plug. Shout out Dumb Good for making a good ass fucking Cowboy Bebop hat.
Definitely check out their other stuff. I wanna fitted. I was too late to cop one of their Death Note shirts. So I really want to get
Dumb Good. If you're listening for the free advertisement, you're fucking welcome.
We're just big fans.
You should send them some merch. We're big fans. Maybe we'll do a plug again. Maybe we won't.
And even if you don't, we'll still do it. We
balls
love
in
you
your
guys.
Court. Balls in your court, Dumb Good.
Like even if you don't
make a good business decision.
But even if you don't sponsor us, like we're still gonna support you guys. Like you guys are cool.
Because you guys make good fucking merch. But yeah, going back, like Samurai Champloo is definitely one of the ones that like I loved growing up, and it's another anime that definitely got me into it. But back to like the topic of modern day anime,
like franchise animes in general.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get into franchise anime. Yeah. I like short stuff, like stuff that doesn't take a lot of commitment, and like I feel like they don't ruin it. Like the first season makes every show.
Yeah.
Like
and also there's that whole 3-episode myth. If the first 3 episodes are bad, then the anime's gonna be bad.
Exactly. Like same it's hard to keep me like hooked engaged after like the first 3, and it's like excuse me. But yeah, dude, it's like Samurai Champloo was definitely one of the ones that like it was a good ass anime, but like with like newer ones, like a lot of these they want to make them franchise animes. Like you see that a lot with like the Hunter x Hunter remake,
Fire Force.
You have like My Hero Academia. Like they're making a whole franchise out of it.
They're already on the 5th season. They kind of came up in like such short time, honestly, for My Hero.
Yeah, exactly. You have stuff like that, and like it's hard for me to get into those because I'm like, by the time I'm just like, should I watch it? There's already like 5 seasons, like a bunch of episodes. There's like movies out, and I'm just like, I don't feel like it. That's too much shit to do.
But for me, I also have sometimes a hard time to getting into franchise anime. I couldn't really bring myself to watch most of Dragon Ball Super. One Piece, I feel like that's asking too much for me, even for me being an anime fan.
Shout out to you fucking weirdo One Piece fans.
Shout out to my friend.
Fucking episodes.
Shout out to my friend. You know who you are. Who your cousin betted you if you could watch the entirety of One Piece up to date over summer. I applaud.
Fucking Christ, man.
I applaud.
Couldn't be me. Shout out to you.
No, yeah, but I feel like one of the few franchise animes I could actually get into, or I am into right now, is My Hero, only because I feel like I really hope they're not going to drag it on, only because, let's be honest, the kids can only be in high school for forever.
They're gonna be 7 years in high school. Like, hey guys, it's junior year.
Like a barely junior year.
We're finally juniors after 7 years.
No, yeah, but also the pacing for now kind of it's good, and it's very character driven. Like no one is really that much of an extra, despite as what one character calls the other characters. We all know who. I'm not gonna say the name. 1, I'm too lazy. 2, Osama here's not gonna get it.
No, I won't. I've maybe watched a couple episodes of My Hero, and I'm like, it's good. It's just like I'm not gonna get it. Because I feel
like it has potential. I'm currently catching up to the 4th season. The thing is, I'm gonna start an argument right now. I prefer watching most animes dubbed, only because I am too lazy to read subtitles. Not that I hate sub.
The hot takes.
Not that I hate sub. I'm in the middle. I mean, obviously, with Crunchyroll, I kind of have to do sub. But with Crunchyroll, like I don't mind sometimes. It's just that if I'm gonna multitask, I'd rather do dubbed.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Also, like you gotta support the voice actor community here. It's kind of small.
Yeah.
Like, even like with stuff like Funimation.
I feel like I'm indifferent to like if I like dubbed or subbed. It's it depends,
It depends because there's some dubs that are done beautifully. Ghost Stories.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some dubs that are done like terribly.
Looking at you, old Devilman dub.
Yeah. Well, I mean that one is so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Like.
Okay, there's some like, there's some dubs. Okay, there's some dubs that deserve to just be held up there. Golden Boy is an amazing dub. Dude. Ghost Stories. We all know the story behind that one. If you don't look into it, watch it. I mean, the sub is definitely bad. There's a good reason why the dub is treasured.
It's amazing. Shout out to the voice actor for just doing an amazing fucking job.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, like new animes, they're interesting because like I feel like because of social media, like, you know,
everything's overhyped up.
I mean, yeah, that too, like, and you get a lot of like toxic anime culture.
Oh yeah,
I think
me being in the younger generation. I mean, you're obviously not that active in like anime communities.
Yeah,
me kind of being, my friends and I were all big anime fans. We're kind of more involved in it because we have more access to it. So we're definitely on social media more. And so one thing I really hate seeing is toxic anime communities, either to cosplayers, to the freaking creators themselves. One thing because there's toxic people everywhere for the anime community, because you have people complete shitting and ripping on one character. Maybe some they deserve it, sometimes they don't. I have my opinions on my characters, but I'm not gonna go fucking rip someone a new asshole just because they don't like one character. Or ships. It's a weird thing with me and ships. Like I don't really care for them. Like I'll be like joking like, oh yeah, maybe these two characters look nice together, but I'm not gonna go tear someone a new asshole just because they don't ship these two characters. I feel like a prime example of what made me somewhat hate ships was the Voltron fandom. Mm-hmm. If anyone in the younger fandom stuff we know what happened with the Voltron fandom. Because of how toxic people were, I just did not watch the final episodes. Like it's completely shocked me how bad people can get, and that kind of was like made me just leave the fandom. Because of the final season, the fandom just died. Like you saw nothing in like communities anymore. Like even then the people who are still there like barely hanging on. So for those of you who don't know, the ship war, as we like to say, it got bad in the Voltron fandom to the point where fans were sending death threats to the producers, the creators, the directors, the animators, the voice actors, to like put their favorite ship in the show or make it canon.
That's really funny.
It's funny from an outsider's point of view, but like you're looking at these people like, dude, they're just trying to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that kind of ruined the last season for me.
Obsessive fans, it's hilarious.
It's hilarious unless you're in the front lines.
Yeah. No, honestly, yeah, dude. And it's kind of funny because like that reminds me of like a lot of like newer animes. There's a lot of weird like obsessive fans.
I hate. It's like, okay, I as much as I'm a big fan of him, I can distinguish between, okay, this is not gonna happen. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It may not be like, okay, like maybe what became canon I may not agree with, but like, hey, if the creators chose to write this, then that's their story they're trying to tell.
Which is weird because it's like, I feel like I sound like an old man ranting about this shit, but it's like, it's my biggest grievance when it comes to like a lot of younger stuff. Like, you fucking kids, you know, like it's like,
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of anime studios now, they cater to like the weird fucking like hardcore fan base, like the weird like the weird fan base that like they just care about like
the internet, the ones we would like to call as weebs, not the ones we mean more malicious to, because we know the weebs is a whole general term, but we're talking about those weebs.
Like for them, anime is like
their life.
It's like it's like they got too into that like they got into the weird part of anime culture and didn't realize that like a lot of people were kind of making fun of it and took it literally.
Yeah.
And it's like they're like, my waifu, my fucking, you know, like my pillow, you know, stuff like that. So like all they care about is anime with a lot of quote unquote plot.
Yeah.
You know, and like a lot of studios are kind of catering to that now because they figure out like, hey, we can make a lot of money.
Because those people are the ones who will spend the most money on it.
A lot of money on it because like that's kind of their thing.
It's what they have left of to kind of fit in.
And it's kind of funny, you know, because it's like these people like they kind of control the direction of which animes go. So that's why I think like you see a lot of the same tropes in like a lot of animes, like, you know, like in a lot of newer animes, like you see like the same type of main characters, the same kind of development of characters, the same tropes just keep repeating themselves.
Yeah, and especially for female characters, bringing back Samurai Champloo, Fu was an excellent lead because she broke most of the tropes.
I think that's why that anime never got that famous, because you didn't have like that overly sexualized like female like
submissive
protagonist, you know,
protagonist, like who the one who can't save herself. No, Fu was doing most of the saving for the guys.
Exactly, and like
there's some moments where like it would seem kind of quote unquote plot-ish, but the thing is like it had a story, like it actually fit in with the plot,
and it was never like
over the top,
overly done, you know.
It wasn't the beach episode.
Exactly, yeah. There was no like you know, fucking stereotypical beach episode where it's just jumping up and down for like 30 minutes, you know. And it's like that's why I think like animes like that don't pick up too much traction, which is like, for example, I think Dororo.
Yeah, Dororo.
Kind of like going down the same thing, because like that anime is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Also,
like,
what can you do?
beautiful.
The main character is like a little kid.
Exactly. You know, like they don't have that like plot.
Yeah.
Quote unquote,
though the reason I heard about the anime was
it's upsetting. You know, because like they're not getting the recognition
they deserve.
Exactly.
The only reason I feel like it did get some recognition because Crunchyroll, how I found out, was doing their you know, annual anime awards, and so a lot of the voting is done by the community. It's not done by like, you know, like officials like behind a desk. Like, no, it's very community based. And voting, you know, I was like, you know, I'm gonna vote. Like, why not? Like, I'm gonna be more involved in this season. And one of them was like best anime intro. I think, I can't remember. This was like during February, and I don't want to bring up the polls, but I remember Dororo showed up as a list, as like one of the available options. And what Crunchyroll does, if you're gonna vote for something, like say for like intro or like best action, they will give you snippets or clips of it.
Right.
And so I kind of be like, oh, in case you haven't watched this, look at this, because like, you know, a lot of fans are not gonna watch all of anime. Again, kudos to that one guy who did.
Misty/Connexia. Shout out to a real one, man.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's how I found out a lot of like animes that I wanted to watch later on. Because like through his YouTube channel. Because like he honestly, like that's someone who's dedicated to the game.
Yeah, that's like, I watched some especially like YouTubers.
And like that's how I also found out about like the more kind of toxic, like problematic communities. Like I remember like when I feel like when I was older is when like I found out what, like, for example, like the lolicons are and shit like that. Those kind of like weirdo type of, you know, like people that like try to defend shit like that. And it's like, it's funny because like you hear people talk about shit like, for example, like problematic aspects in the anime community, like lollies, you know, lolicons, and it's like you criticize it and then you get the kind of reaction where it's like, well, it's part of the culture, you know, you shouldn't criticize something from a culture you're not a part of. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, there's in every culture you have things that are still considered like, they're not exactly considered positive, you know. And I think the whole lolicon thing and like anime culture, like people understand like it's not exactly a positive thing, but it's normalized. You know, just because something's normalized
doesn't mean
it shouldn't be critiqued, and it, you know, and like people don't view it as it's something negative, because it is viewed as something negative. Yeah. You know, and like it's kind of funny, like to see people try to defend it as like, oh, well, you shouldn't comment on it because you're not originally part from that culture. I'm like, okay, but still, people from that culture don't understand it's not wrong. Exactly correct, so it should be open to criticism.
Yeah, and even then, I don't think stuff like lolicons are a part of that culture either. I don't think it's part of the Japanese culture from what I've seen.
I wouldn't say like the Japanese culture. I mean, I would say more like anime culture.
Anime culture,
know, which is like, I guess it does tie into Japanese culture, but I'm talking like
community wise.
You know, like there's people who are like, well, you know, like it's still a part of anime, so therefore like shouldn't be too harsh on it. I'm like, no, I think you should kind of be harsh on it, because even like as a whole, like the culture understands it's not a positive thing. You know, it's definitely something that's kind of viewed negatively, and therefore, like even within the culture, is viewed negatively, and it should be, you know, like because unanimously, like it is kind of considered something that's wrong. Just because it's normalized doesn't mean it's correct. You know what I mean? You know, like with any culture, just because something's normalized doesn't mean it's right. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You know, and
the only solution
is kill them.
I think to things like that is to have all lolicons and lollies systematically put in internment camps the next year. Hey, I'm calling for a Lolicaust. You know what? Yes. I am, as you know, Young as Osama. Dictator because I'm a podcaster now. All right. I am the most powerful person on the earth as a podcaster. I'm more powerful than the fucking president in the US.
No, anyone's more powerful than me.
Exactly. As a podcaster, I'm more powerful than all these fucking people. I'm more powerful than the president. and I am instilling as of now a Lolicaust. All right, we are gonna gather
Lolicaust.
up hashtag Lolicaust. We're gonna gather up all the lollies. We're gonna gather up all the lolicons, and we're gonna put them in internment camps.
No, you can't forget the Shotas. Shotas are the male versions of lollies.
Those two, the Shota cost, the Lolicaust. We're gonna fucking get all of them. We're gonna put them in internment camps. We're gonna systematically execute them to rid that scum of the earth. All right. You got to get it at the source and the demand. Supply and demand. You got to attack both. All right, to get rid of the problem. I can already imagine myself in like German accent, like bring the lolly to the platform. And be like, oh, please, senpai, have mercy on my soul. How
Senpai,
old is
no.
the little cat girl? They'll be like, she is 12 years old. Has she been
senpai.
looted?
Yes.
She has been looted. Send her to the gas chamber.
No.
But senpai, please only child. I'll be like, send her quickly. We need to execute millions more.
No, senpai.
No, senpai.
I hate myself for that.
We're gonna gas all the lollies and the lolicons. All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Doro won for best character design, which it definitely had.
Yeah, good ass character.
Art wise and like character development wise, story wise.
It was very good character development. It's a good show, dude.
It's very character driven. So yeah. But yeah. What were we talking about again?
The Lolicaust.
No, before that.
The fucking Lolicaust.
The toxic community.
Yeah, toxic community, dude. Like, there's like, I think that's when I started figuring out like a lot of like, because even like when you're a part of internet culture, like you do know about the toxic community.
And there's toxic communities in every,
to me, it was
in every
surprising
community
it
culture.
survived. And it got instilled into the younger generation. I was like, honestly, you guys were supposed to be the hope. You guys were supposed
as
to
much as I hate cancel culture, I wouldn't mind cancel culture attacking the toxic communities.
Yeah,
so cancel culture, like, if you are out there and some for God listening, if you're gonna cancel us, at least get the toxic communities first. At least get the toxic communities first. So
it's like if you want to go into like the whole cancel culture thing, debatable if it's real, but
another episode.
I think we can definitely talk about that in another episode about like what cancel culture, like if it's even a real fucking thing. But it's like if you're gonna cancel anyone, like just like toxic fandom, I think in anime is one of the things that unfortunately like it's survived, but it's only gotten worse.
Yeah.
Because like it's weird, dude. Like there's a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of people that like hate on you for like liking a certain show, for not liking a certain show,
or even cosplaying. I've seen a lot of people attack people of cosplay.
Exactly.
No, people of color cosplayers, and I'm just like, dude, they're really good though.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just because,
it's like
and also a character in anime isn't white. Let's be
honest.
honest.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how you see like a lot of anime culture like being dominated and perpetuated by like a lot of like white, anime watchers, and it's like somehow they think just because like people of color get into anime, like they shouldn't be so like they're kind of guests in the anime community.
They're not. Like,
and
no, they've been there as long as we
these
have.
White anime watchers, need to understand that anime is not white.
It's not.
Just because there's English dubs doesn't mean like there's not Spanish dubs. There's not like other language dubs, like.
And also animation wise, like, okay, like
and like you see that a lot in like how you said like cosplaying culture, a lot of people tend to pick on like people of color cosplayers. Yeah. And I think that's definitely a problem that should be addressed, because like you do see like animes with like other like ethnicities. I think one of the big ones, Michiko and Hotchkin.
Yeah. Definitely. Exactly. Especially since one, it doesn't take place in either a fantasy world or in Japan.
Brazil.
It's Brazil, South America.
Exactly. Yeah, amazing show, by the way. Another one that I loved watching growing up.
Intro again, amazing. The dub was amazing.
The dub is beautiful. It's an absolutely amazing show.
Yeah, and then even now, I think following, I want to say following Michiko and Hotchkin, a bunch of animes, even newer ones now, have been introducing people of color as characters. I know in My Hero Academia, the new hero Mirako, the bunny hero. As much as she's getting looted, but like she's definitely
damn.
It's as much as she's getting looted,
don't fucking
they
sleep.
They don't. Yeah, and then there's another hero, Rocklock, and My Hero. They're both African American or people of color. Mm-hmm. And then even in Fire Force, in the new season they introduced a person of color, a black character.
Hell yeah!
So they're definitely being more inclusive, even like not only in like race and color wise, they're also even like LGBTQ community wise. In My Hero, again, there is 2 confirmed trans characters.
Exactly. Which is like what upsets me, like for example in Evangelion, when like a lot of the original kind of like
in the Netflix dub.
In the Netflix dub, how Netflix kind of ruined like the
Shinji and Kwaru.
Yeah, Kwaru saying like I love you to Shinji, and it's like they were both supposed to be like kind of like there's this like
tension.
Yeah, tension between them, kind of like sexual tension, like the kind of love thing, and that was like their thing. You know, it was one of the few like it was one of the first characters that really like had that like LGBTQ thing, and like it's like they should have kept that for like the Netflix adaptation. You know, but it's weird. Like I don't even know why they got rid of it. Like that kind of like that specific scene within the thing, but it's like it is kind of weird that they did because I was like that was a big deal.
Yeah.
For them, like they were like the first like gay lover like characters.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like damn, dude, like they got rid of that. That was a big portion of the thing. It was one of the first like progressive fucking things in anime.
Oh yeah.
And it was pretty cool to like see that. You know, and I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. You know, it's like, I mean, I'm not gay, but it's like, you know, you still see that. You're like, oh, that's cool. You know,
yeah,
like,
and
it's their thing.
And
you know?
bringing up LGBTQ in anime, as much like as you know, I don't hate the gay community. The one thing I don't like in anime is that they hypersexualize it. I remember.
Oh, they hypersexualize everything in anime.
No, especially when it comes to the gay community. One thing that kind of really opened my eyes. I don't really watch any or like most of the, I guess, kind of BL stuff, and is because this another again I kind of got an eye opener from this abridged anime on YouTube. If it's called Free 50% Off. Again, the anime itself is basically fan service since it's high school boys swimming swim team, but the abridged by Octopimp, one character did bring up a really good point about LGBT. I showed Osama here about it, but about it, and how this one character kind of just brought up the whole LGBTQ thing in anime.
Yeah, how, like, a lot of the times by like women, they're like
it's mostly
it's like hyper fetishized.
It's hyper fetishized and mostly marketed towards straight women.
Yeah, exactly. And they
I'm gonna see if you could try to bring up the
like,
script.
These like hyper, you know, sexualized, you know, like people, and like they kind of try to paint gay people in like a negative light because it's like hyper fetishized to like a lot of women. Kind of that weird fantasy that like a lot of women sometimes have, like, I need a gay best friend, you know, stuff like that, because they view only gay people in like that light, you know? And like they bring good light to like, hey, like you shouldn't be over fetishizing gay people like that, because at the end of the day they're humans too, you know, they're not just your token friend.
Yeah, like I have a gay best friend from like second grade. I didn't realize was gay until like sixth grade. And even then, like, that doesn't change my view about him. I'm not there parading around school like, hey, I have a gay best friend. Like, no, it's just, oh, this is just my best friend. He happens to be gay. Because like I feel like women who say that just kind of view it as like a personality trait, either being gay or having a gay best friend. Yeah,
it's like their astrology sign. It's like, you know, your stars are gay. It's like, you know, it's like, no, like it's a big part of the identity of who you are. It's not just the like personality trait, it's a part of who they are.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like you shouldn't treat that as like something that builds your character, but it's for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for you. Like you shouldn't over fetishize like having like a gay best friend and stuff like that. That's their identity.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for you to over fetishize or like try to somehow paint it, and it's like it makes you as a person. It's for them. You know, and I think that's you know, like I think that's like anime culture. Like I think like at the end of the day they do kind of like portray like that. I think Gurren Lagann is another one that like that kind of did that in a way, like that character, like he's funny, you know, like the gay character in Gurren Lagann, you know, he's funny, and like, but at the same time, in a way, they are kind of like
pushing it,
painting him in like a very like he's like over sexualized, you know, he's trying to like hook up with like all the male characters, you know, and stuff like that.
But I feel like that only happens when a new male character is introduced. Otherwise. Like, what I do like about that character is the fact that he kind of just doesn't go around parading it. Like, he's smart. He's mostly there just to repair the robots. Yeah.
But how I'm saying, like, in the show, they kind of do have
They introduce him like that.
Yeah, they introduce him like that. And because this kind of, like, paint him in, like, an over, like, kind of sexualized light. And, like, it kind of, like, in a way for them to try to paint, like, oh, you know, like, a lot of, you know, gay people are like that. It's like, no, like, there's different, like, identities in the gay community, too. Yeah. You know? And like, I think that's one of the things that like stuff like anime, but I think that's a cultural problem that goes beyond anime. Yeah. It's something that goes in like just the way a lot of people view like the LGBTQ community. Yeah.
I couldn't find the quote, but I found the video, so I'm just kind of reading the captions. But it says, fetishizing gay men is an and like anime isn't supporting a homosexual relationship. It's like something normal. If anything, it detracts from their efforts. You can go see it like how you want. You can see it from either way, but a lot of girls are still going to refer to it as like sinning, and it's marketed towards in Japan towards straight women. So they have like the same tropes from what I've seen, from like the shy closeted gay man that's tempted by the forbidden fruit, and the outed gay man that's kind of seen as like the sexual deviant.
Yeah, they're painted in a way that's made likable towards straight people. Yeah. Versus like understanding like the struggles that come with like being part of like the LGBTQ community. Yeah. And that's what's very problematic on like anime. You know, like like it's only shown as a way that's like made likable towards straight people, and a lot of that involves a lot of stereotyping and a lot of exaggeration.
Yeah, even either way, if you look at an actual relationship, it's there's more problems into it. Like there are people like us too. Exactly. If anything, the gay community is exactly relationship wise it's somewhat like the straight community. They're gonna have problems. No partner is gonna be perfect. Each partner is gonna have like their own like mental head battle they're gonna go into. Yeah, and I think
they're people. They're gonna have their own struggles. And it speaks a lot to like a culture, like a whole cultural problem, like wide, even outside of anime. You see a lot of that too. You know, like a lot of the way gay people are portrayed in like major medias has a lot to do with like just making it appealing towards straight people. Whether it comes with like, you know, over sexualizing, you know, LGBTQ people, or having like a lot of their traits being, you know, like or maybe exaggerated, stuff like that, and also really, maybe like, not
representing all communities in the LGBTQ
and not and you know, not painting light on like, you know, people from the LGBTQ community do face a lot of struggles that, you know, we as straight people would not understand. Yeah, you know,
and then there's some communities in the LGBT community that get like no representation at all. Like driving away a bit from anime wise, Riverdale, everyone really seems to like the Jughead character, but what people like didn't really know is that in comic wise, he never really had or wanted a girlfriend. He was technically asexual. But the Riverdale show, you do research. I did research on that. But in the Riverdale show, they portrayed him as a straight and getting with one of the characters, which at first, because I was doing like my research on the LGBTQ community, it kind of upset me that they didn't really keep that part of his character in, because in the comics that was a big thing. His character, like, he didn't want to be in a relationship at all. He didn't like girls at all. Right. So it's kind of like
that's interesting. I actually didn't know that. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I did research. I mean, that was the one point where I tried to get into Riverdale. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna read it. I was like, just let me read a bit about the characters in the Archie comics. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Very and then I thought, and then do this. That would have been interesting to see. Like, I mean, come on. Yeah. Like, for once, I feel like that would be a community that you can't really. I feel the reason why they did that is because you can't hypersexualize or fetishize it. Right. Because literally that's what the whole asexual spectrum is. Like, no sexual attraction at all. Right.
And, you know, I think that's a good note to leave this podcast on, because we're already what do we got? We have a decent amount of audio recorded already. Oh yeah. You know, we need to go through fucking post production and everything. But true. Any last words? Anything you want to leave our listeners off on?
Help better the anime community for the future generation. Yes. You know, we're gonna have a lot of kids coming in here, like, and we can't be gatekeepers. We actually have to better the community for them. Like, we're gonna be the new older generation. So if anything, don't be a dick.
#Zoomers.
Yep. #Zoomers. So don't be a dick. Help them lead them on the right path so that they can also pave way for the next generation. Because this community is only going to grow. And the only thing we can do is just help pave the way. So help take care of toxic communities. Don't be toxic. Don't be a dick. If someone doesn't ship or like the character you like, that's okay. You can still like them. I mean, I have my opinions on characters I don't like that my friends like. That's another episode. So,
see, if you're like me, not only you're a dick, but you're also an asshole. So, just don't be toxic.
Yeah, don't be toxic.
Let people like the shit they like, you know.
Unless it's really problematic.
Unless they're lollicons, #start the lollicaust.
Unless it has stuff to do with pedophilia, then
go ahead. #the lollicaust 2020. All right, that's what we're running this campaign on, the lollicaust 2020. If Joe Biden doesn't endorse the lollicaust, we will not be voting for Joe Biden. That's why we're voting for Bernie. I already don't like him. But if you want me to fucking, unfortunately, you know, cast that fucking bubble, that Joe Biden bubble, which I don't want to do, but he better endorse the Lolicaust.
Yeah.
All right, death to lollies.
So like,
and the Lolicaust.
Anyone in the anime community listening to this, share this message.
Hashtag the Lolicaust.
Hashtag Lolicaust. And also remember, you're paving the way for the next generation. If you don't want to be seen as a toxic generation, because look at where we are now, help pave the way for it. Don't be a dick. Don't be a neckbeard. Don't be toxic.
Don't be a neckbeard.
So,
all right, well,
that's where I'm ending it.
That's a good note to leave on.
So thank you for having me on here, Young Osama.
Thank
I'll
you,
be in
Joe.
my room.
And y'all have a good night.
Night, y'all.